Well, good evening, everyone. Michael, soothing here. Sorry I've been gone so long. I've been away from my internet access for at least a week, maybe more. So I was answering comments, but I had a bucket list thing to do. By the way, thank you so much, all of my subbies and viewers who sent me messages of support after my last video. That's extremely encouraging and helpful to me. I read each and every one of your comments. When I was away, I was still reading comments, but I couldn't log in because we were at a hotel, and I didn't want to get hacked by logging into my YouTube. So I did it as just an outside observer. Anyway, the bucket list thing that I did was we went to Las Vegas for a week. I played in one of the minor events at the World Series of Poker. And no, I didn't cash in the tournament, but it was still an exciting experience. I'll make a follow-up video for you. Some of you have requested more poker chat, and I'll make a follow-up and talk all about that experience. Right now, the World Series of Poker main event is going on, and I have been watching it on ESPN. In Vegas, Joanne bought these dice that she can make a video with because she makes McBong, and these are edible dice. Do you see? So she'll chew them. I don't know what they're made out of. Probably if she knew, she wouldn't want to chew them. But anyway, she'll make a video out of those. It came in a whole bag. She's got a whole bag of them in case she gets hungry for lots of chewable dice, right? So the sad thing for me is, not only did I not win in the tournament, guys, but I lost my signature hat and had to get a replacement. I left it in the rental car in the back seat. So now some schmo from Hertz has my hat, and of course I'll never get it back. But this is a very practical. This hat is called an Aussie Chiller. You can wet the entire hat, soak it. It's like a suede leather, perforated, and it will keep me cool outside in the sun, which is important for the summertime. So it's a little bit bland compared to my other hat, but I'm gonna fix it up with maybe a couple shark's teeth and peacock feather or something, some coins maybe that are vintage. I'll figure something out eventually and make it a little bit more interesting. At least I don't look like a witch anymore with the black hat, because it was kind of tall and pointy, the top part. But I must say, I'm going to miss that hat because I had it for at least 12, 14 years, so kind of bummed out about that. But anyway, I'll make a follow-up, tell you all about Las Vegas, do a really boring travelogue with little snippets of video I took all over the place, including at the World Series of Poker a little bit. I didn't get the big stars because they were all starting their event about the time we were leaving, but I just kind of filmed the areas a little bit, and they have huge rooms full of tables. I got to play in the Amazon room up pretty close to the 2 feature tables. So that was cool, because I wasn't in one of the other huge rooms. And so when I watch it on TV, it looks very familiar. But today I'm just going to chat about the paper, since I'm just getting back into the swing of things and don't want to do anything too cognitively difficult. Just something relaxing. Still trying to recover from the trip. Alright, so let's see what's going on in the local paper for Central Oregon. It says it's been really rewarding. It says there. What's rewarding? Something to do with lots of library books. Oh wait, no. Chief Justice of the Oregon Supreme Court. But I don't want to read about the Supreme Court of Oregon. Alaska's largest city sets heat record. Anchorage, Alaska. How hot is it there? Record high temperatures. They had, what was it? The previous high was 85. Oh, it was 90 degrees at Anchorage. Of course, they're going to say this is due to global warming. If I read anywhere into this, let's skim read it and see. Surface temperatures. Oh, a giant high pressure ridge has moved into place. Oh, here it says. It's a weather story, and these kinds of extreme weather events are because of a warming world, said Rick Toman, a climate specialist at University of Alaska. Let's see now. Oh yeah, they're going on to describe a global warming cause. However, I can tell you from experience that when I was 12 years old, I went to Alaska with my uncle and grandparents because my mom was raised there. And I remember in Juneau, it was 95 degrees. So that was even hotter than this one. And that was way back in late 1960s. So I don't really think that every weather event can be tied to global warming over the last 50 years, since that was a hotter temperature 50 years ago. But it doesn't fit, of course, the agenda. I'm not saying the globe's not warming. Did I say that? No. It's been warming for 10,000 years, folks, and it still is. Eugene schools eliminate dirty buses. That's good. They should wash those buses now and then, don't you think? Especially on the inside. Think of what goes on in there with those kids and gum and all kinds of other things we don't want to think about. But I don't think that's what they're referring to when they say dirty buses. I think they're talking about, yes, gasoline-powered buses. They're going to get rid of those diesel buses, not gas, diesel, and go to natural gas. We have plenty of natural gas, especially in Washington, D.C. Oh, here's a good story. Hatchery funded for 2 more years. Now that's a story I can get into. Anytime you're making more fish, I'm happy, because I want to go fishing soon. The Layberg Fish Hatchery is still swimming, it says. The hatchery along the Mackenzie River escaped closure. Lawmakers approved $1.4 million within the so-called Christmas tree bill to operate for 2 more years at least. We will be continuing our work raising trout, spring chinook, and summer steelhead, providing fishing opportunity in the South Willamette Valley. Well, I don't fish much in the South Willamette, but I think some of those fish make their way over to the coast. They do some stocking in the local lakes, and some of them even reproduce. Oh no, this is a terrible story. Mad Magazine is closing up shop after 67 years. What me worry? Are any of you old enough to remember Mad Magazine? I am. I used to read it when I was young. And what me worry was the tagline for the missing character Alfred E. Newman that was always on the cover. Mad, the long-running satirical magazine that influenced everyone from Weird Al Yankovic to the writers of The Simpsons, will be leaving newsstands after its August issue. Well, that's a sad state of affairs. I loved Mad Magazine, although I haven't read it in decades. What's going on in sports? The U.S. women's soccer team won today, or was it yesterday? Today. They won against the Netherlands, the World Cup. The NASCAR race, I just finished watching it. And that idiot in the 14 car, the one guy I don't like out of the whole field. Well, I don't like Logano much either. But Clint Boyer caused this massive wreck, but he blamed it on the other guy. Okay? But clearly it was his fault. Took out all the top cars. Just watched that a little bit ago. But let's move on to entertainment. Oregon Life Entertainment. There were all kinds of... I'm taping all the World Series of poker. I'm going to watch all of it. By the way, just after we left Las Vegas, that big earthquake hit Southern California, and it shook the whole place. There's even, I think it was day 2, an even bigger quake hit, 7.1 in Ridgecrest. I wonder if there's anything about it in the paper. Ridgecrest, I went there for a couple weeks, twice, for training at the Naval Weapons Center out in China Lake. It's out in the Mojave Desert. There's no lake there, it's a dry lake. So you get excited thinking you're going to a lake, right, for training, but there's nothing there but dirt and sand. It's pretty ugly. But anyway, Ridgecrest took a lot of damage, and Las Vegas is about maybe 70 or 80 miles away, and got a real hard shaking from the quake. I even saw it on the World Series of Poker. They suspended play because you could see all the light stanchions and things. Rockin' and rollin'. What's back here? Entertainment. Oh, Dear Abby. You know we like to read those. When we read the paper, let's see what it says. I need a sip. Voice is a little... You know, I always complain this time. Somebody told me, you're always talking about, you have a hard time because of a cold or this or that, but You see, my immune system is compromised, and so that's the problem. Dear Abby, inheritance used to manipulate family. That sounds like a common theme that happens in many families to me. But I'll fix this paper so it doesn't make too much irritating noise. I don't think I want to read about this. The spleen screens bacteria and spent cells from the body. No, we don't want to read that. I'm not here to gross you out until I do another doctor role play someday. Would you rather have a doctor role play or a psychotherapist role play? I was thinking of being a family and marital counselor role play, right? I actually think I'd be good at that job because I'm good at getting people to see things from a different perspective and make peace when they're escalating their tensions higher and higher. But anyway, I hope that's not too self-aggrandizing to say, but I am good at that particular thing. Dear Abby, for the last 12 years, we have been traveling 7.5 hours, that's a long way, to see my husband's grandparents. This happens several times a year. Each time I pray it will be the last visit. I think this is the woman speaking. Invariably, when we return home, I am sick for about a week. Okay, this sounds like a little bit of, what do they call that? Drama queen, a little Dairy Queen, DQ. I am sick and it's getting worse. Okay, so visiting grandma causes a 1-week sickness afterward. At 96, grandma is not cleaning the house. She lives on her own in the country. Grandma has fallen and can't get up. Okay, it doesn't say that. It says, grandma has fallen. She can't cook for herself, but she still drives. There's a lot of things here that are contradictory. Look, I'll prove it to you. Don't take my word for it. She says they're traveling 7.5 hours to see my husband's grandparents. See there, 7.5? Then she says grandma lives by herself. That's not grandparents. That would be singular. Grandma is a manipulator, and I'm tired of how she treats her family. She uses the financial inheritance for leverage. My family has things planned out in advance on how they're going to spend her money. No, okay, that's reading between the lines. I'm tired of subjecting myself to this. The rest of the family accepts it for what it is. They don't want to upset her, so they can stay on her good side for the inheritance, of course. So they give in and accommodate. Do I have the right to back out? And she signs it. Wants to run away. Dear Once, before backing out, may I recommend that you and your husband discuss this with all the relatives involved. Oh yeah, that's gonna work. They're all gonna run straight back to Granny and say, cut that son out of your will because his horrible wife is not wanting to visit you anymore. More for us, that's what they're gonna say. It seems a group intervention for Granny may be in order. If she has enough money that she's successfully holding it over everyone's head, she has enough to hire someone to clean her house on a weekly or monthly basis. May I suggest weekly at least? Okay. Rather than pray for her demise, That would be a bad thing to pray for anyone. Ask yourself, if she's not cleaning and cooking, how is she taking care of herself? Contact the senior center nearest to where this poor woman lives, or the closest area agency on aging, and ask what can be done to help her. Ignoring her condition could be considered elder abuse. What if the old mean lady, just wants to be left alone, though, and doesn't want people poking around in her business every day? Then what? Where do you draw the line? What would you say? Let's see, what's the next one? Dear Abby, I've never seen this issue discussed anywhere, but I can't believe I'm the only person dismayed by the tradition of bringing casseroles to the homes of the bereaved when someone passes away. When my father died, my mother and I hosted a post-memorial get-together at her home. Each of my parents' many friends and acquaintances brought a casserole. There was no room after the 7th casserole. My mother told me to take the rest of them to the basement and say they were being put in the freezer. My parents never owned a freezer. She lied. Okay, so after everyone left, we put 17 casseroles down the garbage disposal. That's terrible. Didn't they even have a sample bite of each one to see which was the best and then keep the best ones? I mean, use a little logic and common sense. She signs it, enough is too much. Okay. All right, I can't say I've seen this myself, but it is common when someone's sick that people bring stuff across and down on the crossword puzzle. And everything's about, I don't want to read that. Let's see what else is going on. When the music finally stops, uh-oh. Skip's Records and CD World is going out of business after 30 years. See, nobody can stay in business in the brick and mortar stores anymore. First of all, no one buys CDs or records anymore. And secondly, if they do buy them, they buy them online. So that's kind of sad. I used to love record stores. Here's a lady with an afro of records on her head. That's pretty cool. I loved old vinyl CDs, and as I promised previously, I will do another vinyl CD ASMR video in the future, talking about some of them in my very old collection that dates back all the way to the early 1970s. And those records are still in perfect condition because I have the whole get-up with the fancy turntable, the $150 stylus, that's the needle, made by Empire or somebody, or Shure. I would do the record non-invasive, non-damaging, hypoallergenic, anti-static brush that you would fill with fluid first so that it would prevent static buildup. I would let that run across the surface of the record a couple times to make sure it was dust free so nothing would put any damage in the groove. I was a fanatic. What they call an audiophile. Big giant tower speakers, with 20-inch bass drivers and mid-range, and high mid-range and tweeters and super tweeters, quadraphonic, rear channels also. All that's out the window now because people play MP3 files and don't care about the sound quality at all. Or the music for that matter. Everything's pop now, or hip hop. Beer for breakfast? I don't think so. Not that I'm against drinking beer. Look at that. I read that, I think I told you in the last video. Drinking a glass of red wine is very good for you. But now Joanne is battling me over because it can lower your platelet count. And my platelet count is too low. I didn't get any nosebleed though from playing poker or the flights. I'll tell you all about our trip in some other video. Eugene man gets prison for VRC burglary. What's the VRC, you might ask? I have no idea. Let's see. 21-year-old Eugene man has pleaded guilty to a November crime spree inside Valley River Center. That's in which he and at least one other man. Oh, that's a shopping mall. I know it. I've been there. He and at least one other man stole more than $14,000 from locked safes inside the mall after hours. How do you steal it from locked safes? Gonna have to read on. Must have been an inside job. Pled guilty, first degree theft, attempted second degree burglary, 4 counts, a sentence to 6 months in prison. But how did he get into those safes? Let's see here. He was captured on surveillance video in November 2018, entering the mall after hours with Marcel Daniel Ethan Briner. Oh, you can't trust someone with 4 names, huh? The two were accused of breaking. Oh, that guy was a former GameStop employee. He was breaking into GameStop, opened the safe, so a former employee knew the combination, and took $12,100 something in cash. Months later, on February 28th, they again entered the Valley River Center. Did you hear my stomach growl? I'm a bit hungry. Entered several businesses in the food court, including Panda Express, Cinnabon, and Sarku Japan. If they're going to break into Cinnabon, they deserve the book thrown at them. Okay? Because I love Cinnabons. I like the, walnut maple or something? Not the standard Cinnabon. It's the one with the kind of maple and walnuts in it. Woodward was arrested in May, blah, blah. Okay. What else? Private Facebook groups. I don't want to read about that. I'm reading a book right now. Drink a pint and waste less food. The book I'm reading is about a future company like Amazon who's taking over the world. It's called The Store. It's really quite good. In fact, those guys in that last article should have read the book. There are cameras, surveillance, and spying on you everywhere. In the book, it's taken to an extreme. The guy's got drones following around. The Amazon / store type company has cameras installed in his house because he's trying to write an expose of the company. And so They're chasing him around, and it's like become a giant cult taking over the world. Business. Drink a pint and waste less food. Does this mean that if you drink a pint of this beer, didn't I just see a color picture of it somewhere? Must have been on the previous page. These beers made with Kellogg's cereal, okay, at Seven Brothers in Manchester, England. The brewery has been using discarded breakfast cereal. Discarded cereal? I hope it's not discarded from somebody's cereal bowl. Instead, it's still in a sealed box, I hope, to make beer in a project intended to address the issue of waste. Yeah, that's what they say, but really it's to save money, right? We use discarded cereal. But wouldn't each cereal make a different tasting beer? Like, Cocoa Puffs beer isn't going to taste the same as Wheaties beer, is it? So it's all going to be different. Rice Chex, it's not a bad idea. I kind of like it. Throw away IPA. Something pale ale. They don't tell you which cereal was used in the making of the beers. Let's see. Cocoa Pops have become more than a guilty pleasure for McAvoy. That must be the British name for Cocoa Puffs, because that's what they're called here. And there's, of course, Cocoa Krispies, my favorite and yours, with some sliced bananas, I think my favorite is Crunch Berries. See, I like those junk cereals that have way too much sugar in them, and I shouldn't be eating those. India plans infrastructure investments to lift economy. Well, while they're doing infrastructure, could they teach all the people on those phone help lines to speak just slightly better English so I can understand them? I don't mean to be an Anglophile with language. I love people from India, don't get me wrong. But we love to, sometimes they're a little hard to understand on the phone. Of course, they probably have the same complaint in this direction. But anyway, I think I'm going to wrap it up now. Sorry to do a kind of video I've done before so many times, but this is how I get relaxed and back in the swing of things after a lengthy hiatus. Next time I'll do something different. So, until then, don't ASMR and drive. Thank you again for all your great comments on the last video I read. Every single one, and appreciated every single one. They lifted my spirits like this. Okay? Higher and higher. Way above my now missing black hat that somebody at Hertz stole and is wearing at this very moment. Well, maybe not wearing in Las Vegas since it's 105 there. But anyway, I like this new one. You can get it all soaking wet and go out and keep your head cool. And I'll customize it, of course, so that it's all mine and unique. Take care, everyone. Until next time. Bye-bye.